Welcome to the channel and welcome to today's run through of all the latest Manchester United news and transfer updates, keeping you right up to date with everything. I'm Jamie. Before we get into it, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Let's jump straight into it. Loads of transfer talk. We've got actually some developments on some exits as well. All sorts to go through today, so let's jump straight into it. Let's kick off with the midfield. So Manchester United are weighing up whether to fight off competition from Premier League rivals for the signature of Richard Rios after deciding to continue keeping tabs on his progress for Palmeiras at the Club World Cup ahead of potentially attempting to lure him to Old Trafford. But there are fears that the central midfielder will not come cheap if the Red Devils set their sights on offering a route to the Premier League, as there have been suggestions that he has a release clause worth in the region of £85 million written into his contract, resulting in Palmeiras being in a strong negotiating position. Manchester United are in danger of being dragged into a bidding war if they decide to lodge a proposal, as up to 10 admirers have sent scouts to run the rule over Rios at the Club World Cup, making him one of the tournament's most watched big names, as suitors aim to tempt him to Europe. Now, I know from previous videos, this is a name and a player that a lot of you like from the comments. I like Richard Rios as well. He does look a really, really good player. 25-year-old, so he's a good age. The concern is, and obviously you'll mention this as well, is where are we going to find £85 million to pay his release clause when we're already, once the Mbeumo deal gets over the line, being told that we need exits in order to fund the move for a striker. So I don't see us getting that sort of money in to buy Rios for £85 million. However, doing some research, it's unconfirmed whether he does have that release clause, because there are some reports suggesting, because of Palmeiras' financial situation, that he could be available for as little as £20 million. But obviously, the going to the other slide, it does say that if there's other teams interested, it would be a bit of a bidding war. But if he's available for £20 million, as there are some places online suggesting that he might be, then that would be an outstanding midfielder to bring in my opinion. Rios, he looks really, really good. I think he would be one of the players that I think could solve the conundrum in midfield, like the partnership for Bruno. I think he's a good, potentially maybe even a long-term replacement for that 8 position in midfield as well. Fantastic player, but I'm skeptical of the prices, because some reports saying £85 million, there are others saying up to 20, but then with the bidding war. But he's definitely a player of interest. We've been linked with him. I remember getting linked with him actually last summer and in January as well. So there are always reports and links with Rios as a player that we have been interested in and scouted in the past. And obviously, according to Dean Jones and Danny Russ, who are decent sources, I'd want to see a bit more credibility though, let's be truthful, but they are decent when it comes to United news, but suggesting that United might be scouting him again in the Club World Cup and potentially making a move. What do we think about that? Give us your thoughts on Rios in the comments. I mean, he's very, very good midfielder. I like him. I think he would be a great shout to bring in, depending on the price. If it's £85 million, there's no way we're going to get the money to spend that this summer on a midfielder. If it's 20 or 30, or even if you get a bit of a bidding war around that sort of fee, then I think he would be a great shout to bring in the midfield. But I will leave it to you. Let me know in the comments. Richard Rios, what are you thinking? Good signing, bad signing? Give us your thoughts and your shouts on that in the comments below, as I'm sure you will. Now, sticking with the midfield for a second. So Manchester United are monitoring the situation of Galatasaray midfielder Gabriel Sara. And that came from Footmak, who are a Turkish news outlet. Fairly decent as well, via Sport Witness. The report is, it said, as per the reports in the Turkish media, Man United have joined the race to sign Galatasaray midfielder Gabriel Sara. The Turkish club will only entertain offers in the region of €30 million, which is about £25 million. So again, another good price, I think, for a midfielder. Something maybe doable if we get the exits that we're looking to do, and that will be the key, I think, for the midfield position. Man City and Leeds are said to be monitoring the situation. So whether that's a report linking Man United to get more money or to get interest in the player because other teams are interested in as well, who knows? But again, looks a decent shout for midfield. Used to play for Norwich, I think it was, in the Championship before going to Galatasaray. Looks a decent option. Not one that I've watched a ton of though. Done some quick research and stuff. Looks reasonable. Wouldn't be a bad shout considering the price as well. Would have that. I think he's got that physicality that we're looking for in midfield. Good passer of the ball as well. So it's one of these where I'd want to see more credibility with Sara, though. The previous Rios is actually from decent sources. This one felt a little bit clickbaity to me because, especially when it's saying other teams are interested and specifically name dropping Man City Leeds, could be a story that they're putting out there to generate interest or to get these clubs moving, to pay for their player, pay for a little bit more. Who knows? But there's more, I would say, steady noise around the midfield, because I do think that is a position we need to strengthen once we get the attack sorted, but not from the most credible. Like, I'd want to see way more credibility. I'd want to see a Romano or an Ornstein or a Whitwell or someone like that coming out confirming these stories, but it's more noise. There are a few more names being linked in because the midfield is one position where it's gone really quiet. Ederson is the most linked name. We've had a few reports recently, potentially about Aidan Hackney, who I like. Richard Rios would be a great shout, in my opinion, for the midfield, but I'd want to see a bit more credibility. But there are slowly starting to become more stories coming out regarding that position. But give us your thoughts and your shouts on those in the comments. Let's move through the rest of the transfer news. So Manchester United are still considering Roger Fernandes as an option this summer. United like Roger a lot and believe that he would be a good fit into the Ruben Amorim system, which means United have been keeping tabs on him over in Slovakia for the Under-21 European Championship. Now, that came from Graham Bailey. Graham Bailey can be hit and miss, so again, we'll need to wait and see if this story progresses. But Roger Fernandes, again, from previous videos and comments, I like him. I think he's a good prospect player to bring in. Whether he would be one that would play, in the attacking areas or potentially at wing back, good data, young, developmental, up and coming. I do think we need to go for a few of these players as well. I know we're looking for Mbeumo and Cunha, established Premier League first team ready players. But if we're looking to remove Anthony, Rashford, Sancho, and Garnacho, yes, we can play Mount in the 10, and yes, we can play Ahmad in there as well. But I'd still like to have a few younger players coming in that can develop and work behind these players as well. So we have a bit of a succession plan so that, in 2 or 3, 4 years' time, whatever, we've got some young players that have coming through that have earned their stripes and are ready to go. And I think Roger Fernandes would be a good shout for that, depending on the fee and depending on, obviously, our budget as well. Definitely a player that we've been linked with loads, though. Definitely in January. And from Graham Bailey, it's the went really, really quiet on him, though. Like, there's no stories until this one coming out. But again, really good stats for a young player. Can play in different positions, can play on the left, mainly off the right wing back, potentially, or someone to play in that left 10 position, possibly. So he does offer you a bit of versatility as well. But he's a player that I like. I'd want to see more credibility, though. A lot of the stories, because it's gone quiet, and I'm going to explain why I think it's gone quiet in a second. In terms of the transfer news, there's all these little bitty stories, I think, that are just gap fillers and feel a little bit clickbaity, because I would want to see a bit more credibility. But I do like Roger Fernandes, though. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments. And this links in with what I just mentioned there, a little bit bitty, a little bit clickbaity. L'Equipe say that Manchester United and Liverpool have strong interest in Malik Fofana. Chelsea already opened casual talks. So, that coming from L'Equipe, suggesting that maybe we are looking at Malik Fofana. I thought he was really good against us. I think actually he turned the game in Lyon's favour when he came on, because he caused us an absolute nightmare in the Europa League. Nearly won them the game as well. But if it wasn't for the last 10-minute heroics, what a game that was, by the way. But yeah, good again. Another prospect, another promising player. Chelsea are interested or linked with him if they don't get Jamie Gittins, because they want to bring in a left-sided attacker. That's where he plays, mainly off like right-footed left winger, effectively. So would be someone to maybe play behind Cunha on that side as a young up-and-coming prospect, 20 years old. I like the idea. The fees, though, are saying around £40 million. I don't know if we've got £40 million to spend on a backup young player like that. Who knows? And it feels, as I mentioned before, a lot of the stories regarding transfers, I think, are gap fillers, paper fillers. clickbait because there is really no significant news for United. There is actually on exits, which I'm going to go through, but in terms of incoming, it's gone very quiet, and I'll explain why I think that is in a second. But yeah, it feels a little bit like that. I'd want to see a bit more credibility linking us with these players, because where are we getting the funds? Where are we getting £85 million from for Rios, if that story's to be believed? Where are we getting the money for Malik Fofana? £40 million is reportedly the price. Where are we getting the funds for that? So, for all of that to happen, we need to get some massive exits, and we'll go through all the exit news in a second. But give us your shouts on that in the comments below. It'd be interesting to hear what you think regarding the situation there. So let's move on to the striker or the forward position. So Sporting are demanding £68 million for Victor Gyökeres, no less. That came from a bolus, and I don't know if that's the sort of price that United are prepared to pay for Gyökeres. The latest there is still the same. His preference would be Arsenal, or his preference would be Arsenal because of the Champions League. United are still there, still interested. He would come to us, but he would prefer to go to Arsenal. So we're waiting for Arsenal effectively to make their decision. If they make a move for Sesko, and there are rumours that potentially they've agreed personal terms with Sesko, then maybe that gives us a free run to go for Gyökeres, but we'll need to wait and see. We're waiting for, I think, other clubs, i.e. Arsenal, on the Gyökeres situation. And then the latest on Ekitike, who's the other striker we might be pivoting towards if we don't get Gyökeres. The Athletic was saying that Manchester United have inquired about the availability of Hugo Ekitike. United have made contact with Frankfurt in recent weeks to try and understand the player's level of availability and what a potential transfer might cost. And then this was direct quotes from the sporting director at Frankfurt, said that if the price is right, then if the price isn't right, then he'll simply stay with us. We don't have to sell Hugo. He is one of the most interesting strikers on the European market. Hugo has to decide that. I'm glad we have him. If he decides otherwise, then our motto: if a player develops faster than us, we'll let him go. So effectively, their sporting director was saying, look, they'd be open to selling Hugo Ekitike if he wants to go, because they are a selling club, but they want to sell him for the right price as well. And a load of murmurings around potentially their price coming down, and also that they would be happy to do like a structured deal as well, which might be a way that we can get the deal done without the big financial outlay for Ekitike. But it's definitely a striker. I think they're the two. Well, they are the two main strikers we're linked with at the moment. It's still Gyökeres, still interest there. He would still come to United, but he's waiting to see what Arsenal do. And then Ekitike could be one that if Gyökeres does go to Arsenal, then maybe we pivot towards Ekitike. The latest on Mbeumo is that Rudy Galletti said there have been positive contacts recently between Man United and Brentford for Mbeumo. The gap on the fixed fee is narrowing, just a few million left. Personal terms have already been agreed, and also that Tottenham are now out of the race to sign Bryan Mbeumo. Tottenham see it as almost impossible to overtake Manchester United in the race at this stage. Again, came from Rudy Galletti. Rudy Galletti is a hit and miss journalist. He's already in contention for BS transfer story of the window on the first day, linking us with Rafael Leao, but he is fairly decent in other areas as well. But I would want to see more credibility before getting excited about Tottenham being out of the race and also personal terms or the deal nearly being done. But we are where we are when it comes to Mbeumo. No significant updates is what I would say there. Now, the main thing we need to concentrate on, though, once we hopefully get the Mbeumo deal done, is exits. Exits are massively important for us this summer. Now, Michael Critchley from The Athletic was saying that Manchester United's cash position is tight due to the player transfer cost, loan interest, and the Carrington training ground investment. They repaid £50 million of their credit facility, but still owe £308.9 million in transfer installments, making summer sales critical. So that was going back to what I mentioned before, where we can spend money from a PSR perspective, but we just don't have money to spend. In order to get the money in, we need sales, and that's where United are financially, and going off the reports. And then The Athletic also said that beyond the signing of Cunha and the pursuit of Mbeumo, it is expected that United will need to sell players from the fringes of the first team squad to generate funds before making further additions. So we need to get some exits done as soon as we can in order to fund the rest of the transfer window, is what's coming out from the Athletic there as well. And that's been widely reported as well. I know some of you in the comments share that as well and been saying on recent videos that, it's all very well good. Let's get linked with incomings, but we need to sort out the exits first as well. And there's been a few updates and developments actually on some exits, which I'm going to run through next. But give us your thoughts on all of that in the comments. Now, I just wanted to bring this in, right? So, because I know there's a clamour, I want to see us get signings as soon as possible. I want to see us get deals done ahead of pre-season. So I looked back. So according to ChatGPT, I asked it how many players United have signed in June in the last 10 years. And the answer is 4. So just to manage expectations, in the last 10 years, we have only signed 4 players in June. The rest of the transfer deal has been done July and August. Eric Bailly in 2016, Wan-Bissaka and Dan James in 2019, and Matheus Cunha this year. So Matheus Cunha, so already this summer, is 25% of the signings that we've made in June. And I wanted to bring that in because I'm impatient. I know everyone's getting impatient with the deals and sign-ins and stuff, but history would suggest that we actually don't sign players in June anyway. And actually, the fact that we've signed Cunha is something that we haven't done since 2019, and signing a player this early in the transfer window. Majority of the deals get done in July and August. Whether you like that or not, that's the reality. I think at this stage, a lot of players do go on holiday, and it's difficult to get the deals done because you need to do the medical and you need to do all of that stuff before signing the players. And the players are on holiday or over the years, international tournaments are played around this time as well. So it's very difficult to get the players in early. The fact that we've got Cunha, is a step in the right direction. Is it the ideal? No, the perfect scenario will be we've got everyone signed, done and dusted. But then what are we going to talk about all summer if we've got all of our deals done? But and then in terms of exits, guess how many players we've sold in June in the last 10 years, according to ChatGPT? None. So in the last 10 years, we have sold nobody in June. So a reason I wanted to do that research is just to say, look, let's be a bit patient, because history suggests we're not going to get any exits in June anyway. It's going to be July and August. And knowing United, lastminute.com, I hope it's not like that, because the fixture lists have come out. I don't know if you've seen it. We've got a very, very very difficult start to this season. In fact, let me see if I can bring them in for you. Yeah, very difficult start of the season. So I do think there is a need to try and get as many deals done as early as we can. But when it's a transfer market, we are also dependent on other teams and interest and exits, and it's not always as easy as it seems. But there's our opening 5 games of the season: Arsenal at home, Fulham away, Burnley at home, Man City away, and Chelsea at home as well. So that is a very tough opening 5 games of the season. So we do need, I think, to be as prepared as we can be. But again, going back to the previous slides, the reason I wanted to do that is because June, we never do anything in June. It's a difficult time to do. So just to be a bit patient, and let's wait and see what happens when July starts. And so hopefully at the moment we're lining up deals, and then when players start coming back from holiday or we get closer to the start of pre-season, we can see a little bit more movement on players coming in and going out. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments below. I'm sure you will. Let's run through the rest of the exit news. So Inter retain an interest in Rasmus Hojlund, but the player's preference is to stay at Manchester United and fight for his place at the club next season. That came from the Athletic. So we've had Onana stay in, Hojlund stay in. These are players I'm not necessarily concerned about Hojlund staying. I just don't think he should be the first choice striker. To have a rotation or a backup or somebody to come off of the bench and learn behind a more developed striker, or behind behind somebody else, not the worst thing in the world. But yeah, Onana situation, that's it is what it is, and we are where we are. It's frustrating, but we'll see what happens. Getting in another striker might change his mind, though, because of the lack of games and the minutes, and it's World Cup year as well. And some players might want to play minutes. They might be getting told by their national team managers, "Look, if you're not playing, I'm not going to pick you," and that could force people out. So bringing players in might force some exits as well. But we'll have to keep an eye on that one. Alfredo Padula, though, was saying that selling Rasmus Hojlund will be difficult for Manchester United this summer, considering how much they invested in him initially. He's attracting interest from multiple clubs in Italy. Both Inter and Napoli like him a lot. I've had links with Napoli, mainly Inter though, regarding it. But again, going off the Athletic, apparently he wants to stay and fight for his place. But can we force him out by bringing a player in and effectively saying, look, you're going to be second, third, or even fourth choice behind Cheeto? Who knows? But we need to keep an eye on that one. Anthony, the Athletic was saying that Real Betis want to sign Anthony permanently after his successful loan spell in Spain. Betis have had conversations with Man United to find out their position on his future. However, no offers have been made for the 25-year-old, and there is an expectation that a deal might take time to be completed. That's the reports coming out on Anthony, that the deal with Betis, because of its complication and its this sell-on rights and image rights and all this stuff, might be a deal that drags on. AS, though, were a good Spanish source that Real Betis are preparing an offer to Manchester United about Anthony. They want him back permanently and want to get him back to Spain. So it is believed that Real Betis might try to do some sort of deal with Anthony, but it's going to take time. Who knows if somebody else or another team's going to come in and, and do something with Anthony. But yeah, that might be one that drags on because of the complication of the deal that Betis are proposing to United. But we need to keep an eye on that one. And then the next exit is Sancho. So Napoli, AC Milan, Aston Villa have all recently contacted Jadon Sancho's camp. Manchester United are desperate to sell the attacker, keen on funding a squad rebuild. Now that came from Rudy Galletti. I'm sure he said the other day that there were other teams interested in Jadon Sancho. Fabrizio Romano, though, however, said that Manchester United are prioritising a permanent sale for Jadon Sancho before considering any loan options, which is good. Damarcio is saying that Napoli are continuing to work to sign Jadon Sancho, but Manchester United's asking price for him remains high. Apparently, United are asking for £30 million for Jadon Sancho. Romano has also said that Napoli has no intention to pay Jadon Sancho's current salary. They are among clubs keen, and more clubs are in the race, so there's starting to be a few more clubs potentially interested in Jadon Sancho. But if you watched yesterday's video, the issue with Sancho is his wages. He does not want to take a significant wage cut, as we've seen already, because he's refused £150,000 a week at Chelsea. So what are these clubs going to be offering him? He's going to have to take some kind of salary reduction if he wants to go to Napoli or even Dortmund. So it's all down to Sancho really when it comes to what type of deal he's going to try and negotiate in his agent. Sky Sports have been saying that Napoli plans to approach Manchester United if a transfer seems feasible for Jadon Sancho. They are in touch with his camp about personal terms. They will need Sancho to lower his salary, with United valuing him at around £25 million. So that came from Sky. And that's going to be the issue with Sancho. His salary demands are going to be a stumbling block. But let's see what happens. But it's good that there are interested teams in Sancho. It's just whether or not they can do a deal with the player, because that's going to be the sticking point, is his salary demands, going off of the reports about yesterday and those reports as well from Romano and Sky. And then the final story I've got for you is, yay, Tom Heaton's signed another one-year deal for those interested to stay as our third choice goalkeeper, confirmed by Fabrizio Romano. It's not the end of the world. He's a third choice goalkeeper. He's homegrown. He is a good leader in and around the dressing room by all accounts as well, and that's been building up for a while. We've known that Tom Heaton would potentially be given another 1 year contract extension, so get excited. We've re-signed Tom Heaton. Let me know what you think about that in the comments below. Let me know what you think about all the other topics discussed in today's video, because that's you all up to date with the latest news and transfer updates. Smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. See you in the next one.